Fans, we've got a Chris versus Chris mirror match here. On your right is Chris Cruz, and on your left is Chris Jara. So, uh, first things first. These teams should not be terribly surprising, but there are some cool little facets here. We've got the White Queen, Emma Frost, on Chris Cruz's side. So that's going to allow him to redirect some of the damage from fist characters to your opponent. So it's going to mean so there's some interesting interactions with Hulk. There's some interesting blocking for Black Widow. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how that plays out, if it matters in this game or not. So Christian is undefeated up to this point. So he's 5-0. He has to be super confident going into this. He's got Umber Hulk. Umber Hulk lets you re-roll your opponent's level 1 and 2 characters. It's like Wind Rider, but bigger, but it doesn't work on level 3 characters. It actually provides a really a painful linchpin with Black Widow and Zarina. The fact that people are going to get spun down, and then they're going to get eliminated completely if they're going from 3 to 2. Really huge. I heard that there are some really dedicated fans in the stream that have been here hanging out all weekend. We really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for making our Twitch presence, our soon-to-be YouTube presence with this so successful. We really appreciate the enthusiasm, and I understand there are new people who've come in to explore and learn about what Dice Masters is, and check out the game and watch the people who are the best of the best go at it. And thanks to you guys too, because we need to grow the game. We are looking for people who are gonna have a good time and enjoy the game. We hope that we're capturing you with this coverage. So nothing terribly surprising as far as early buy sequences so far. We see purchasing of Gabi dice from Chris Cruz, and Christian has got some Zarinas, and he's probably gonna PXG ramp up a little bit here. Okay, so looks like he's using Resurrection. Both players have Resurrection. Something that a lot of people miss is you can actually use both copies of Resurrection. You can use yours once, and you can use your opponent's once. Same thing goes for the Silver Surfer Global. So it's not always correct, of course, but you can do it. So he just used Slifer to pop that sidekick. It seems inefficient to spend an energy in that way, but it means your opponent won't be able to use your Blue Eyes against you with that sidekick without re-rolling it as a sidekick. Also, as we're doing the top 8 here, want to give a shout out and a big thanks to everybody who helps make Dice Masters great. My coworkers at WizKids, Mike Elliott and Eric Lang, always doing something new and exciting, and really wouldn't be the same game without them for sure. All of our playtesters, everybody who came out to the event today, everybody who's following online and rolling dice at their local store, the local stores, just everybody who does their part to make Dice Masters an exciting and fun and welcoming game. Punisher McRook, I talked about earlier in the weekend that it's one of those characters in Dice that I really underestimated early on in Dice Masters. I think he's still waiting for his big break, and it could be this weekend. If Chris Cruz goes on to win the whole thing with McRook, then he'll have showed all of us that this was an underrated superstar. But Slifer presents some serious problems for McRook. On his level 1 face, Punisher's going to get shot by Slifer once and it's over. I was telling Christian earlier, I was going to tell everyone that he had a Hulk theme team, since he has Umber Hulk and Hulk, but he's neglected to actually use She-Hulk or Red Hulk. The combo with using all of those, of course, is that you can have no Umber Hulk can reroll their characters, and She-Hulk can not get blocked by less than 2 characters. Or Hulk could deal damage, but ultimately it's quite difficult to get that many expensive dice. So you'll notice that that's reflected in how these players are distributing their dice. So that you've got 4 Psylocke, you've got 4 Zarinas, you've got 4 Gabi, but you're only going to have 1 or 2 Umber Hulk, 1 or 2 Hulk. Even though those characters are not in there for their global abilities, there's no need to bring an enormous number of dice on them. Earlier in the weekend, we saw a player with 5 Hulk dice. But if you look at that team, he was spending a lot of space on his team with globals, characters he'd only ever want to have 1 die on anyway. So might as well max out on Hulk just in case. Having extra copies is particularly helpful in a Phantom Zone or imprisoned in heavy environment, which we have not seen this weekend. So there's some redundancy as far as the global abilities here, which is good. There's 2 Resurrections, there's Slifer, but there's also Magic Missile, there's Professor X, but only on Chris Cruz's side. So Chris Cruz has the advantage in this game, no doubt. But there are 2 more games to go, and this game is still anyone's game. Okay, so passes priority. Chris used PXG twice. Zarina attacks. Chris is going to take 2 because he has no characters he's able to spin down. Sidekicks are level 1, and that's all they ever do. So these players in the top 8 are going to get some promo cards. They're going to get a DC starter, but I've got some surprise extra stuff to give them. So they don't know it yet, but they're going to be getting some signed cards from Mike Elliott and Eric Lang, our game designers for Dice Masters. So curious to see how all this plays out and who rises to the top. Okay. Big roll here for Chris. Theoretically, he just rolls enough sidekicks and enough gobbies to completely burn out Christian this turn. The fact that Christian's got him behind his head, just awaiting to see the other shoe drop, but Chris Cruz does not have enough sidekicks to really make the burn fatal. Christian has distraction, which is going to be really important here, and neither player has Doom Caliber Knight. So that means that those gobbies are going to burn Christian down, but they are not going to eliminate him. So Christian is down to 6. So this could be really problematic, because Christian is probably going to have to break ramp, but he's got the Hulk coming, and that we know that changes everything. We've seen it all weekend. What makes it a little bit difficult on Christian is that he doesn't have patch, so it's not going to be a situation where he assumes control with Hulk and then just wins. It's going to be a situation where he assumes control with Hulk, and then Zarina's going to have to make him win the game. He didn't get enough early damage for me to be sure that that's going to work. So Chris is passing priority. Has to be hoping that Christian is going to flub it and use Professor X's global to keep his ramp. But so Christian is going to use distraction twice, and it's going to plummet Christian down to 2 life. He is precipitously low on life. Thankfully, he's getting to roll 7 dice this turn. It's actually a really low number for the situation that he's in. He needs energy for Hulk. He needs attackers, and you can only get so much at 7 dice. Okay, let's. The Hulk's off camera. There it is. Okay, so Hulk is a character face. Okay, that is a huge deal for Christian here. He is going to need to use Slifer to KO to deal damage to Hulk to KO the gobbies. But that does mean that they're just going to get re-rolled, and with a single sidekick and two gobbies, sorry, it's going to take 2 gobbies, 2 sidekicks. It's going to take 1 gobby, 2 sidekicks. There's a lot of iterations. It's going to be really, really rough for Christian to make it through this series of events. He only has 1 bolt. That's rough. So there's an Iceman, which could turn the one bolt into two, but that further demolishes Christian's ramp. So he passes priority, and why not use Berserk's Global if you're Chris? There's no way the attack is big enough here. So Christian has to decide, does he want to keep Zarina as a blocker or not? And it looks like he does. Yeah. Okay. So Chris is just rolling an enormous number of dice, two sidekicks and a Gabi. That no sidekicks yet. Okay, boom, good game. So Chris is showing us that Gabi is still good. I've frequently said it's just a card that I think you can't count out. Dave was on camera with me before, and he said it gives you such inevitability, and I believe it. It is hands down a slam dunk fantastic card. So Christian is going to get to choose to go first in game 2. We haven't seen best of 3 play yet. One of the reasons best of 3 play is not necessarily very, very good for Dice Masters is because there is lots and lots of public information. There is relatively low variance. So if you go first, and you have your roll and your reroll, you get to decide exactly what you're going to do for the most part. So does your opponent. And while you can change that strategy for game 2 or 3, a lot of the times what your team is really dictates what strategy makes the most sense. And based on your team dictating that, it doesn't necessarily make sense to take all the time to have people play the same opponents over and over when many games would turn into 2-0 blowouts. This way you get to play a lot of different opponents, meet some new people, have fun against a variety of teams. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so good call on Christian, knowing which die is the one that he had just rolled. Okay. So Christian is lining up his dice, thinking, what does he want to do here? Okay, so he's going to reroll most of his bolts, because he could get something better, and he can always just spend his remaining bolt to turn it back into bolts if he wants. It's the flexibility that his opponent's Iceman is going to give him. Okay. Let's see where this goes. 2 shields. Could be tempted to make an Umber Hulk play here. Blue Eyes to pop the sidekick. That's what he's going to do. Awesome. Oh, nope. Never mind. I thought I saw him spend... Oh, no, he did spend the bolt, so I guess he's planning on not making a Blaze play. Use the Shield for Resurrection to guarantee himself the Black Widow next turn. Oh, sorry. He 50-50 to Black Widow, but he's right away. But there, he used it twice. So that was what I was talking about before, that you can use your opponent's Resurrection. So there is an overwhelmingly large likelihood that Christian's just going to use Press Global twice, get those 4, and so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of his sidekicks showing. There's 1 Black Widow die in his bag. He's going to take a point of damage and get a generic energy, which is really good. Oh, players had not reset their life totals. Okay. Okay, so many dice for Christian this turn. Chris, bought Gabi. There is no reason for, if you're a Chris Cruz here, that you don't just say, I won with Gabi, let me do it again. I'm a little surprised looking at Christian's team that he is running 3 Human Torch, but only 1 Hulk. In terms of dice you'd buy multiples of, this makes a great deal of sense to me. But I feel like the what if scenario, having a ton of fists, I'd really go for that second Hulk purchase. But maybe we'll have a chance to talk to him about it later. We had seen that game where Charlie had to get a second Hulk die to polymorph because the first one had come up as energy after it got KO'd by his opponent's Psylocke. A play that we could very easily see in this game or later in the top 8 cut. Okay. So he goes with that Hulk resurrection play. And Chris Cruz is going to be rolling a ton of dice. I love rolling dice. I love in other games drawing cards, and it's part consistency. Oh, wow! So that's really incredible that he didn't hit any of his Gabis, but he hit a large number of sidekicks. But the writing's on the wall. He knows that Christian will not be able to let them live. There is an overwhelmingly large chance that the Hulk is going to come out and blow up those sidekicks. Overwhelmingly large is 75% in this case that the Hulk shows up, and there's a small chance that he arrives with no bolts. Okay. Chris is thinking really hard about this. Yep, use resurrection. So he bought Psylocke, use resurrection. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So Christian's gonna be rolling 10 dice during his next turn. Really strong. So he's got 11 dice total and just rolled 10 of them. Fantastic. Okay. So he's really close to cruising per game, but in the meantime, he's got such a fantastic board position. Christian is pretty well off. He's gonna figure out, how am I gonna pay for these characters? How am I gonna blow up Chris's field? How am I gonna blow up his field again at the end of his main step? He's being really methodical about this, and there are times when I worry about players. So we're halfway through round 1. So out of our 50 minute time limit, we are 25 minutes in. Considering where the players are in this game, that's a really good sign that we're going to finish in a timely fashion. While it's important that we are able to decide games on time, it is better when the games can end as intended. So there's a debate of whether or not you'd want to blow up the sidekicks now or later. If you do it now, it means that Chris gets to reroll them. But it also means that Chris will have the opportunity to field Gabi and deal the bonus 2 damage, which you don't want to give him the chance to. Granted, that bonus 2 damage is going to cause Hulk to KO the sidekicks anyway, and you won't have to spend the energy for it. But it's a trade-off, and Christian knows that, hey, last game I got burned out by Gabi. I'm not going to just walk right into that again. I'm going to make Chris really work for it. So, Chris was talking to me before about bringing White Queen specifically for Hulk. Let's see if it comes up in this game or not, because this is really when Emma Frost Hellfire Club is valuable. When she's damaged by a fist character, she can redirect the first 1 damage from her to your opponent. Okay, so he's got energy, got a lot of energy. Okay, so Hulk just got KO'd by Psylocke, which means that Chris is going to be able to field his Gabi for 3 damage. Put Christian to 16. He doesn't have another Gabi to field, but he's got 4 bolts. That's really strong. He has to be wondering whether or not he wants to use the blue eyes or save all of those energy for Slaver. It really depends on what he expects out of Christian here. Okay, so looks like Christian is trying to figure out what he wants to do at the end of Chris's main step. Okay, PXG, PXG. So, yeah. He's patting his dice bag, figuring where does he want his resources. So, Christian's going to distract a character. He's going to distract Psylocke. It's a really judicious decision to take the damage over to let Gabi go back into the cycle, kind of, versus he's saying, oh, I don't want Psylocke to come back until I KO her. By keeping her in the field for now, if he KOs Psylocke during his opponent's main step, she's not going to be able to get fielded next turn and use her ability to pay 2 masks to knock out a character. So let's see what these guys are up to. Christian is thinking really hard about this. He knows that he is 16 life away from being eliminated from Dice Masters U.S. National Championships, but he is 29 life away from moving on to the next round. He's another 40 life from the finals. There's another 40 life from the championship. It's many rolls between now and then. I can only imagine how many dice in total have been rolled this weekend. Okay, so fielding characters. He's sitting on so many bolts, but he doesn't have a Hulk to pour them into. Even if he doesn't have a Hulk to pour them into, Slifer is more than happy to KO those sidekicks. Really important to remember that. Really important to remember just what makes these cards good is that Slifer functions on its own. Hulk functions on his own. Human Torch functions on his own. But when you put these cards together, you get an incredible amount of synergy. And there's layers and layers of that in what we're seeing here. The fact that Psylocke is going to interact positively with Professor X, which Christian doesn't even bring on his own team. He just depends on other players too. And if they don't, there's little that can outrace, Gabi and Zarina. There's little that can stand up to Umbra Hulk without kind of that acceleration. The fact that he's got Resurrection as his shield outlet is just so strong for his consistency. So Hulk was spent to buy a Zarina, spends 3 to KO those sidekicks, and he passes with a sidekick in the field. So really interested to see if Chris Cruz gets just enough gobby going that he can win the game this turn. The global that would put Chris over the top right now is probably Distraction. Oh, sorry. Probably Relentless. I don't know why I get those two confused so much. But Relentless would allow him to stop Christian from having that Psychic as a blocker. There's also the argument for Doom Caliber Knight, because, hey, I'm gonna make my characters undistractable. Magic Missile is gonna make things really interesting to see when Christian wants to KO some of Chris's attackers, when he wants to try and change things up a little bit. Christian has a lot of options. He could pay a bolt and have 3 bolts remaining because of Iceman, 2 cool for words. He could also use the bolt he has plus the wild as 2 bolts for Slifer. He could use 1 bolt and use 3 PXGs. There's really a world of options available to him. The tough thing is when Chris passes the end of his main step, if he doesn't PXG a maximum amount, there's the chance that Chris is like, okay, I'm done with my turn, doesn't attack, and Christian loses the ability, the timing window to ramp. So we're back in that pattern of let's roll an enormous number of dice, and Christian's going to do it. Chris is... Both players have a hand over their mouth, and I wonder whether they're worried about what they've done or what their opponent will do. Okay, so Chris is trying to decide whether or not to attack you. There's no room for distraction because Christian has used all of his energy. His reserve pool is empty. Okay, so Christian is down to 3 life, but Chris has an empty board. He does have energy that he could use for distraction, but he's only at 9. It might not be enough. One of the other globals that's going to matter for Christian to not have access to right now, besides Doom Caliber Knight, also happens to be Enrage or Horn of the Unicorn. The fact that he can't just convert his bolts into damage is damaging. Oh, he missed the Hulk again. So that's 4 misses on Hulk between rolls and rerolls. This is why the polymorph decks had such success, because they didn't care. They'd purchase Hulk and then they would turn him into a level 1 character. The consistency boost they were getting from that basic action was absolutely enormous. Okay, so Christian has 3 Zarenas, which are going to deal a total of 6 damage from their ability if they attack, because Chris has no way of spinning down his own characters. I'd like to point out that it is very good for the game that Slifer cannot damage your opponent with his global ability, because otherwise, right now, Iceman would allow someone to spend a bolt, and you would have a big problem. Okay, so spends. Okay, so Christian buys an Umber Hulk die. I can't help but wonder if that die just never sees play. There's just such an overwhelmingly large likelihood of a Gabi burning him for 3 during Chris's next turn. So, weirdly enough, Chris has to distract twice to keep himself in the game. And since he has to distract twice, he's going to break his own ramp. Breaking the ramp is what's going to mean the best defensive thing that could happen for Christian. Because with only rolling 5 dice, it's going to be hard for Chris to get enough sidekicks for Gabi to be a lethal burn. Ironically, Chris is providing Christian with the blockers he's going to need for the Gabi that he's going to want to attack with. But Quan and the Assassin could make things tricky here. He's going to roll... So Chris is going to roll 5 dice. If he gets Claudin on her level 1 side, that could mix things up big time. Nope, does not get Claudin. But he gets some interesting stuff here. Okay, so he's going for a Gabi play. So he's gonna field Gabi, and after the sidekick, of course, so that way he can burn Christian for 1. Every life point matters. So early in the game, I talked about how Christian saved himself from taking 2 points of damage potentially. There's the chance that if he had not done that, he would be out of national championships this turn, being that he's at 2 life right now. Really, really tight game. This is only game 2 though. The players might run out the clock for the most part here and be unable to complete game 3. Right now though, all of the games in the top 8 are still going. There are no blowouts here. Okay. So, good. Oh. So, Christian just won that game. These guys have only a little bit of time remaining. Someone is daring their opponent to buy a Blue Eyes. Let's see if it happens. Okay, so Chris is going first this game. The more autopilot that these guys can do, the more likely the game reaches a natural conclusion versus the clock kind of deciding things. Okay, so surprise, surprise, turn 1 Zarina buy, turn 1 Gabi buy. These guys are hardwired. Oh, so it looks like one of the games is completed. Sadat versus Valley. They're cleaning up their top 8 match right now. Really, really happy that despite this being an event that is on the East Coast as a national championship, we did have players come from all across the country. Multiple players from California, and lots of regions are sure to emerge from this as the place is known for competitive players. No doubt that's going to be defined once people start to discover where our top 8 players are hailing from. Okay. Ooh, man. Early Umber Hulk buy. So Umber Hulk is a really strong effect on a really big body. He's also shield energy, so he can potentially fuel the Resurrection Global. Oh. So, seems like one of the other games has been decided. Seems like Charlie Cates has been eliminated by Kelly Davis. Or Davies, I'm sorry. Okay. So we've got at least 1 damage incoming because Gabi doesn't quit. So Christian's at 18. This early lead is actually incredibly important when a game can be decided by time. It doesn't really deeply change the fact that both players are still playing to win, but getting the leg up early is even more important than usual. And Chris Cruz buys Quan. Okay, and Christian ramps with Professor X's Global. Christian is going to be rolling 8 dice during his next turn. And Chris has no trouble just pushing that Gabi in for damage, sending Christian down to 15 life. I'm gonna call out Chris later for not using his Punisher die in this set, because after all, he's wearing the shirt. He was gonna show us all how much of a sleeper it was, but looks like Punisher is still sleeping to some extent. Okay. Oh, so Umber Hulk is just a big dude right now. Let's see if Christian chooses to field him or not, because it might be worth just sitting back and spending your energy elsewhere and getting to roll him again in the future. Oh, no, he fields him. Oh, wow, Psychic Reroll Psychic, 1 in 6 chance. Not lucky for Christian. Ultimately, a rounding error. But it would have been nice to remove that blocker and send it to the used pile for sure. So Sadat has eliminated Valley, but she's a very good sport about it, and very glad to have made it into the top 8 of Dice Masters U.S. National Championships. So Charlie has been eliminated as well, but we have people who are very, very positive about their experience, and we're glad that they could have joined us and they were competing at this level. So I think that Christian is one of the few players I've seen today using the regular super rare art on Zarina and not the WizKids Open version. Just goes to show that you don't need to be fancy to be incredibly successful. Christian is 5-0. So we're gonna see some knockouts here. Oh, so Black Widow was unblocked. Chris C is at 16. Okay. Got a lot of energy here. Gonna reroll for a Gabi face, no doubt. Okay. Oh, 2 psychic faces. That's gonna be very effective with Gabi. Oh, sorry, 1 psychic face. Nope, there's 2. I lost visual tracking on it. So fields 2 psychics first. Spends a shield. Fields Gabi. And Christian adjusts his life total accordingly. He's at 13. Okay. 3 energy remaining for Chris. He could save it all for PXG ramp. Could save it for Magic Missile. He could purchase more dice. Let's find out what he does. All options are interesting, but with Umber Hulk in the mix, it's going to be a tougher decision than normal. Curious what Christian wants to do with the bolt. There is no utility for him to use the bolt for Iceman, which is worth noting. But Magic Missile is still a good thing. So, so he... Okay. Spent the bolt for the sake of spending the bolt on Iceman despite no utility. So, Gabi KOing Umber Hulk is potentially negative for Chris. He might have been better off if Gabi just stayed out. Yes, he'll get to reroll his Gabi die, but the Umber Hulk getting to reroll the 2 sidekicks and sending to the use pile potentially could be really detrimental. Christian has not had much luck with the regular Hulk in this set, so maybe the Umber Hulk will similarly betray him, and he won't be able to roll a character face and be stuck with more energy. Then again, he's counting stuff up. He might just buy a second Umber Hulk die. No, he's going to reroll those. I applaud that play. Bummer. More shields, including a single shield sign on the Umber Hulk die. No doubt the worst result possible on that die for Christian. So there are 6 die faces on all Dice Masters dice, and there's a shield, single shield, 2 double shields, and the 3 character faces on shield characters. More often than not, it is just very, very clear. Oh, of course, the single shield face is the worst face. I paid for a character and I'm getting something a sidekick die could get me. Double shield face is subpar, but hey, it's the pat on the back. Good job, you tried. When it comes to character faces, it's wildly different depending on your situation, and that is one of the fascinating things about Dice Masters. You're going to have situations where you absolutely need a character for its ability, but the cost to field it is going to be prohibitive, or it's going to damage other plans of yours. Or there are going to be times when being able to field something for free is unimportant because it's not going to have enough defense to survive something like Venom, who's going to give it -2 defense for not being a fist character. And so you're going to have different hopes and aspirations for your dice rolls in different situations, and you're going to field certain characters over others because of the distributions of cost across those faces, or the distribution of defense or attack across the different die faces. It adds a really deep layer to the game that is not immediately apparent to many. Zarina's attacking, and nothing to spin down, so Chris is going to take some damage. Chris just might be not unprepared for this aggressive, old school Dice Masters Gabi rush. So, spectators are really curious about the games that are going on right now because, hey, there's so few left. We have only 2 matches remaining out of the top 8 players. Okay, so the non-character luck has started to rain on Chris's parade as well, that he has failed to hit a character face on his second Gabi die. But at least he got the double bolt. Gonna make it easier for him to progress forward. So Christian goes down to 10 from the Gabi's direct damage ability. Chris has plenty of energy. Probably just going to convert it into more Gabi dice. He needs Gabi dice and he needs sidekicks. It's one of the most consistent equations in Dice Masters. This is a Gabi. Thinking about Gabi is important because it rewards you for doing things that you already want to do. Putting sidekicks into play is usually a very good thing. Rolling sidekicks is usually a very good thing. Okay, so we've now entered time. So this is something we haven't done yet on stream this weekend. So they're in turn 0 right now. They're going to, I believe they're going to be playing an additional 3 turns after this. Okay, so the game will come to a natural conclusion in these turns. Anyway, so shaking up the dice, big roll. Okay, so let's. Oh, Umber Hulk could end everything, I think. Okay. So theoretically, Umber Hulk comes in, rerolls the sidekicks. Regular Hulk comes in, theoretically KOs the sidekicks if somehow Umber Hulk misses. Easy buckets to just attack and force Chris to break ramp and prevent losing the game, but he must do it if that's where the direction this goes in. Okay. Pays 2, 3. Fields Umber Hulk. Time for Chris to reroll. Okay, looks like Chris has both sidekicks, which probability-wise we sort of expect. Okay, so Zarina. So there's 2 damage that Chris has no way of preventing by spinning characters down. Gonna be very interested to see whether or not Chris goes for a magic missile play here. It was one of the things we observed in an earlier game that caught a lot of people off guard. So Christian is facing a genuinely difficult decision. Do I field the Hulk? Do I break ramp? He knows the game is nearly over, one way or the other. This is turn 1 of time. So Christian only has 1 additional turn after this to bring Chris to a lower life total than he himself is at. Excuse me. It's a really tough decision here. So he probably has to field that sidekick either way. There's probably not an advantage to holding on to that. Fields both. Critical. Okay, and he passes. So yeah, so passes priority to Chris. Chris judiciously KOs the Zarina. And so now so he used PXG once, and he holds on to his okay, he's only gonna hold on to 1 mask. And so Christian is going to have an option of attacking with his Umber Hulk for 7, or his Hulk for less than 7, and then I believe the Hulk is less than 7. Okay, so Christian attacks with 2, and Chris is going to get to distract one of them. He distracts Umber Hulk. Good move. So Chris is now at 4. Okay. Without having the exact content, we don't need to have the exact contents of. Oh, is it 3 or 5? So there's a question of whether or not it's 3 or 5 additional turns. I'm unsure with what is the case at this particular event. The judge is going to be verifying.
So it's 2 to 3 minutes between 206 and 207.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the players who are playing on stream had a bit of a time delay due to us wanting to make sure that you guys could see what cards they're using, and they actually are not in those final turns as I thought. Oh, that's game anyway. Chris gets it going. Wow, really. So that's so. We're very happy for Chris's success, but it must be tough for Christian that he had such success all weekend, and when it comes to the elimination rounds, luck is a cruel mistress. But both players played very well. You can only do so much with your rolls. Really excited to see where this goes. So we're gonna get these players some prizes. There's still an outstanding game in the top 8 right now. We've got the two Davids playing against each other. Either one is a great candidate for Dice Masters U.S. National Champion. Same could be said of either one of our Chris's. Really happy for all these players. Of course, everyone pulling out their cell phones post game to let their friends and families know about their success. So I'm gonna grab Christian to see if he can talk to us for a minute.
Wow, that's weird seeing myself.
Hey, so that looks like a. Oh, given the judge their tournament sheets. So looks like a tough game there.
Yeah, I felt it a little bit there. Just
So-
couldn't seem to roll my characters when I needed them.
I noticed on the Hulk twice, and I noticed on Umber Hulk at one point that you went from 2 shields to 1 shield. And
Yeah.
That
Yeah, that hurt a lot.
that's so brutal. Really just the probability messes you up sometimes. And I think there was even a time when you tried to re-roll sidekicks with Umber Hulk and it didn't pan out, and that's super likely to go your way.
Yeah, but that's part of the game.
It
You
absolutely
are
is
rolling
part of the
dice,
game,
and
for
it's going to
sure.
happen to you from time to time. I've definitely gotten lucky a couple times this tournament, so it was bound to come back at me
Right,
sooner or later.
It gets you at one point or another. So, had you played against a bunch of different Gabi teams this weekend, or was
I have seen Gabi almost every single game, and I think everyone who hasn't bought him has had him there to buy if they
yeah,
want.
just as an option because it's one spot on your team and you already play sidekick dice. So
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I really didn't expect to see so much of him. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
with Professor X, that would reduce his viability. But he really saved me a couple times
Yeah.
in this tournament. I mean, especially when you're playing second and you need chump blockers. You're going. I'm gotta feel these
gotta feel
sidekicks,
these sidekicks
so he can really do some damage for you in those situations.
for sure. So the cards that we were probably surprised to see on your opponent's team didn't end up playing into the matchup at all.
No, not at all,
Wait,
yeah.
Emma Frost and McCrook just sat there, and I think you had good answers for them. I think Slifer is a great answer to McCrook, and Umber Hulk is your way to go instead of the regular Hulk when you're staring down the Emma Frost.
Yeah, no, Umber Hulk was just a little more energy efficient than Hulk
In terms
in
of damage,
this game.
I think
Just
so, yeah.
Getting rid of, and he's just as good as getting rid of sidekicks, pretty much.
Pretty
It's
much,
not certain,
absolutely.
but at least he doesn't get to re-roll them next turn.
Yeah, and I think that's the big part of the economy of the situation, for sure.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the different matchups you played today, what do you think was the most favorable matchup that you encountered?
You mean in terms of cards?
Yeah,
Or,
what strategies when you ran into them you thought, oh, I have this one down.
I got to tell you, I didn't feel like that once. I
Okay.
felt like everybody I met seemed like they had a pretty strong team, and if things
For
went their way,
sure.
they would definitely had a chance.
Yeah, so
And I felt like even in the games that I won comfortably, I felt like, that it, if the rolls hadn't gone that way, it could have turned around very easily.
you can get lucky, they can get unlucky, both.
Yeah, but always.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason that the game is fun, because
Yeah.
you're always in it, no
You're-
matter
you're-
what.
You're almost always still in it with Dice
Yeah.
Masters. So this is still anybody's game out of our remaining 4 players. Do you have any predictions as far as who you've seen play during the weekend and who you think is going to take it all home?
I've seen quite a few strong players
Mm-hmm.
today. I think that David Walsh has been very good.
David Walsh
he
has
actually
been
gave
highly
me some
praised.
very good advice yesterday, which helped me
Yeah.
quite a bit. So he took me down yesterday. I got him in qualifying today, but I like his chances a lot. And obviously, anyone's game.
No, he's definitely. Someone else on camera was telling me earlier that he'd given them some tips and they did pretty well as a result. So curious to see where he goes from here. I don't know which of the 2 Davids won the game on the end. We've seen great performances from both of them this weekend.
Right, yeah. Well, we know one David's coming through.
Yeah,
And one Chris was
we're gonna
going
pass
through no matter what.
One David and one Chris through no matter what. But yeah, so they're pairing the next round. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's
Yep.
been a blast.
Good luck at your next event.
Thank you.